Story 1. I do not believe compliments and I drown myself in self-deprecation. Story 2. I'm not afraid to make my future self's life a living hell just so my present self can be temporarily happy. Story 3. I overthink everything to the point that I talk myself out of good things before they even start. Lately, I have been trying to just act before I spiral, like hit send or say yes. It is wild how often it actually works out fine. Story 4. Very popular prompt, original poster. 25 comments in 13 minutes. That might be a record. Personally, I do not trust people. Story 5. I poison my body with processed foods and high-fat foods without regard. Story 6. I sabotage my projects by leaving my tools disorganized and then complain that a 15-minute job takes an hour because I spend time searching for tools or fail to place them within easy reach during the job. Story 7. Sometimes I beat myself up, get extremely drunk, drive home, leave my car parked in the front yard, enter through a window, and pass out in my clothes. More often than not, I leave a lit cigarette lying around somewhere. Story 8. I do not need other people to put me down. I do it myself, laugh out loud. I ruin my own good times. I doubt myself all the time. I get in my own head, I just exist, and I am hard on myself for that too. Story 9. I talk myself out of things that could have improved my life if I had stood up for myself, or perhaps stood up to myself. Story 10. Because every now and then I kick the living daylights out of myself. Story 11. Sometimes I hold myself back because of a fear of failure, even though I know I could succeed if I tried. I need to break that cycle. Story 12. My mind constantly questions itself and plays games. I say I will do something, but I do not do it until a month later. I check whether I secured a wire or connected it correctly. I check 10 times and still do not trust that I did it right. My memory sometimes goes blank. I question the reality of things I have seen and am not sure. Story 13. In every way, without exaggeration, I am my own worst enemy. Self-doubt and low self-esteem mean no insult anyone gives me is harsher than the ones I tell myself. I am my own thief of joy. Story 14. My shyness prevents me from forming bonds with people I want to connect with. Story 15. I sabotage everything because I don't feel I deserve it. I have pushed people so far away that the few I used to talk to no longer speak to me. I experience anxiety and fear. Story 16. I often think about death, and most of the time I try to hurt myself to see if I might die. I fucking hate myself. I'm sorry you're feeling so distressed. Are you safe right now or thinking of harming yourself at this moment? If you are in immediate danger, please call emergency services, for example, 988 in the United States or 112 in many countries. If you are not in the United States, please contact your local emergency number or suicide prevention hotline in your country. I can help you find local resources if you'd like. Story 17. I tell myself I have no chance of forming any social connections. Story 18. You are going to do whatever you want. Nuif en orbu. No matter what. Story 19. I believe that no one is my true friend and never will be. I feel like I have manipulated people into liking me and keeping me around only while I am fun. When I am gone, it will not matter. I never really know whether my friends truly like me. Story 20. I have no discipline or self-restraint. I give up quickly and I'm lazy. I don't deserve anything I have and I feel like I should just lie down and let myself die. I'm sorry you are feeling this way. Are you in immediate danger or thinking about harming yourself right now? If you are, please call your local emergency number immediately. If you are in the United States, call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or text home to 741741 to reach the crisis text line. If you are outside the United States, please contact your local emergency services or search for crisis hotlines in your country. If you can, tell someone you trust how you are feeling or contact a mental health professional. Do you want to talk about how you are feeling or get help finding support right now? Story 21. Whenever someone compliments my weight loss or says I look good, I sabotage my progress without realizing it. I spiral into shame and gain more weight than before. I try to lose weight slowly so no one notices, but when someone I have not seen in a long time compliments me, the cycle repeats. I am my own worst enemy. Story 22. I have photosensitive epilepsy. I don't care and play a lot of games. I don't take breaks from the computer while I work, and I sleep late because I doom scroll. Story 23. It is probably the overthinking. Brain, please stop. Pause, breathe, and chill. Story 24. It took me much longer than I'd have liked to stand up to my mother for the manipulative and controlling behavior she has shown, especially during my adult life. There were times I should have defended my wife much sooner. The problem is I too often try to see the good in people and hope they will change. Story 25. I replay every conversation in my head for a week and still come up with worse responses. Story 26. I have definitely been guilty of overthinking, the kind that delays action. I have gotten much better at seizing opportunities. It has been an interesting journey so far. Story 27. I binge eat when I am very stressed or when I interact with things I know will put me in a bad mood, such as reading news about certain topics. Story 28. I blame myself for everyone being unhappy. My sister does not talk to me, so I think it is my fault. I am the youngest and feel like I spoiled her childhood. Story 29. I overthink and analyze every little detail until I convince myself there are problems that do not exist. Story 30. I talk more about my dreams and goals than I act on them. When it comes to working toward those goals, I become anxious and procrastinate. Story 31. I am middle-aged, but psychologically I am still stuck in middle school and convinced that nobody really likes me. Story 32. I am too demanding of others, to the point that I often get frustrated and do things myself without involving others. I am an only child. I became self-sufficient and was able to travel the world, move out on my own, and build wealth without concern for others or common family constraints. That made me successful in one sense, but it also made me somewhat self-centered and unkind, traits I did not recognize until I met my wife. Story 33. Perfectionism. I wasted a couple of years of my life in fear of not meeting my highest expectations. I am slowly learning to overcome this. Story 34. No matter how well things are going, or even if I have zero reason to think otherwise, I find something and convince myself that the people I love do not care about me and are waiting for the right opportunity to leave me. First of all, it is cruel to myself. If I cannot catch that thinking in time and reverse it, I start to push people away and may lash out. Story 35. I overthink so much that I believe things that are completely untrue. Story 36. I know I'm too fat and I still keep eating like a whale, shaking my head. Story 37. I used to have many friends. I need to make new ones, but I lack motivation because I am afraid people will not like me. Story 38. I have been plotting my own downfall since I could form a sentence. It is a genius plan, and I will not see it coming until it is too late. Mwahaha. Story 39. I know all my weaknesses. The only person who can beat you at your own game is you. You make the rules. I think I have a split personality or something like that. This confirms it. The only one who can hold me down is inside my head. But who is inside my head if it is not me? Who is the other person? I have to look into that. Story 40. My car is in the front yard. I'm sleeping with my clothes on. Story 41. I have serious anxiety and autism spectrum disorder level 1. Going outside any routine or ritual terrifies me. Because of that, I have taken very few chances in life, and that really sucks. I am trying to take more small, realistic risks. Story 42. I was my own worst critic. I was harsh on myself as a child and thought I deserved the abuse. Now, as an adult, I feel sorry for that child. Story 43. I have bought into the saying, never do today what you can put off until tomorrow. Story 44. Staying awake late and not getting a full night of sleep. Story 45. I create situations in my head that are unlikely to happen, and I worry about them. Story 46. Future me hates present me, and we both hate past me. That guy never gets anything done and expects us to clean up his mess. Sometimes I feel bad for future me, but I figure he's doomed anyway, so it's just another item on his long list of things to do. Story 47. I am self-destructive. I push my body to its limits and am constantly testing the edge of what I can legally get away with. Story 48. My inability to consistently turn thinking about what I want to do into actually doing it. I do not mean basic daily chores like taking out the trash, grocery shopping, or doing the laundry. I struggle to do those tasks in a timely manner before they pile up and become harder. I mean the things that allow real progress in life. Long-term projects such as finding a job, making my dream of becoming known as an online content creator a reality, or getting a decent place to live. I feel like a waste of oxygen and other resources required to sustain me, not in a depressed way but in an angry way. I am the kind of person who annoys me when I see others doing the same. In short, I hate myself, and my inability to act only makes that feeling worse. I should mention I most likely have autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Some professionals in autism have determined I have it, though I am hesitant to call it a formal diagnosis because I am not sure if they were doctors or what their exact qualifications were. I know you have to be careful about saying you are diagnosed autistic because people can misdiagnose themselves and make things harder for autistic people. As for my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I am waiting to speak to a professional. I was supposed to have spoken to them already, but they canceled the first appointment, and my difficulties getting myself to do things caused me to miss the rescheduled appointment. If I cancel or miss the second one, they will send me back to my general practitioner and to the bottom of the waiting list, and I would have to wait another year or longer to try again. So yes, I have some issues. Story 49. My hyperpragmatism can give people the impression that I lack empathy. Story 50. Just 4 ways. Overthinking, catastrophizing, hyper-awareness, and my inability to accept good things happening in my life. Otherwise, all is good. Story 51. I am too nice. I give people who are not related to me way too many chances. Story 52. Being overly self-aware in 2025 often puts a person in difficult situations. Story 53. 30 years of drug addiction. Need I say more? Years sober now, still dealing with the fallout. Story 54. My car is in the front yard and I'm sleeping with my clothes on. I came in through the window last night. Story 55. I have been insecure about my weight my whole life, to the point where I am always criticizing myself for what I eat. Story 56. I overthink everything. I get so stuck in my own head that sometimes I believe it is all about me. I hate it. Story 57. I am too much of a perfectionist. I often expect too much from others and myself. As a result, I am not always at my best when things do not go right. Story 58. I want a clean environment, but I don't want to clean. I'm lazy and spend most of my time doing nothing. Story 59. I have anxiety, agoraphobia, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It would be easier to notice when I am not my own worst enemy. Story 60. I am my biggest critic. I also let people walk all over me way too much. Story 61. I have social anxiety. I am probably high-functioning autistic. I procrastinate. I am not very confident in myself. I have low self-esteem. I am self-deprecating. I have trouble motivating myself. Story 62. I am trying to see the best in everyone, even when everything is screaming at me to walk away. Story 63. My anxiety prevents me from trying anything new. I want to apply for better jobs, but an inner voice tells me I'm not good enough. This likely comes from being told I'm not good enough during my 10-year relationship, which is why I stay. Story 64. I believe in the process so much that when there is foul play involved, I do not know what to do except leave. Story 65. I do a lot to escape myself and feel dread when I'm left alone, though I'm the first to say I've got a lot of self-love, so I don't even know. Story 66. I am afraid of being responsible for my own success and happiness. I repeatedly give other people decision-making power in my life to avoid accountability and blame a third party for my own shortcomings and inability to face difficult experiences. I am aware of this and still feel powerless to stop the cycle. Story 67. My medical issues include inflammation of the gallbladder, which keeps me up at night, and severe irritable bowel syndrome. Story 68. I refrain from killing people who need killing. As an aside, he needed killing used to be a valid rationale in the state of Texas. Story 69. I allow myself to spiral, and even when I know I should stop, I won't. Story 70. I stay in bad situations for too long and, in turn, attempt to right the ship even when I have zero control over it. This leads to burned bridges. I am getting better at being aware of it, though. Story 71. I'm incapable. I'm deeply flawed almost inherently. I try, but I'm a failure at heart. Doomed. No hope. Damaged goods. Story 72. I hold myself back from what I want to do because I fear failure. I want to be a voice actor, but I am afraid my voice is terrible even though my wife says it is not. Story 73. Hypervigilance has me cutting people off the moment they do not act right. Story 74. I binge eat and procrastinate, wasting time on activities like watching reels, series, anime, YouTube videos, and shorts, instead of learning something useful, working on my soft skills, and studying. Story 75. Reading people's comments here, I am recognizing more of myself and what I do to myself, intentionally or unintentionally. It is sad how almost all our problems are so common, but we have been so blinded by society's perfection that we cannot see them until we read about them in someone else's experience. I literally read every other comment and think, I do that a lot too. It sucks. Story 76. I drink alcohol even when I intellectually know I should stop. Story 77. I never procrastinate. Well, actually, sometimes I do, but there are many reasons why. Story 78. I express myself just to meet people who scowl. All I have to do is show up, and they hate me. Story 79. Procrastination, obsessive thoughts, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in general. Too many ways to count. Story 80. I'll mention some things people might relate to and some they might not. It's mostly personality traits like most people. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, overthinking situations, replaying events and wishing I could turn back time, and shyness or social anxiety prevent me from forming typical relationships with others, whether friendships or romantic relationships. This also affects my confidence. I've never walked up to a woman and asked for her number. I'm the nerd type rather than the cool guy. I don't know if that makes sense. I can get antagonistic when I don't have enough independence. I don't like feeling claustrophobic around family. I don't know if I inherited avoidant attachment issues from my mom, but the antagonism came with it. Her mother was very closed off and not playful with her children, and she was avoidant too. If people become too close or threaten my independence, I push them away. It's not a healthy coping mechanism, but it's mine, and it can burn a lot of bridges. I once took it to an extreme. I threatened someone to prove a point, though I did not follow through. I say this often. It became my catchphrase. Anything I say or do is to prove a point. My parents can be very controlling or protective, depending on who you ask. So much of what I say or do is to antagonize them and show they do not control me. I don't know if I was the first neurodivergent person in my family, but as far as I know I was, so I always felt like the odd one out, partly my fault and partly not. When I was a kid, I watched the 2000s X-Men movies and related to them. I might not have adamantium claws like Wolverine or telepathy like Professor X, since those are fiction, but I still felt like I had differences that made me different. Fun fact, that was the first time I learned about genetics even before biology class at school. Story 81. I get distracted by social media and games on my phone way too much, but at least I do not do it while driving. I also eat when I feel hungry. I am about 29% body fat, but apparently I do not look it. I need to stop and get back into CrossFit like I was 14 years ago. Story 82. Allowing negative comments to consume me and shape my identity. Story 83. Every now and then I kick the living shit out of myself. It's no surprise, though. Story 84. I don't understand the enjoyment of life. I feel like I saw and did everything I wanted at a young age, yet I'm expected to keep going, get a job, and live like everyone else. I'm not like everyone else, yet I care what they think, unfortunately. Story 85. I think I am lazy, though I am told I have accomplished more in my life than 3 other people. I am very hard on myself and have difficulty being happy. Story 86. It makes me depressed, and that depression makes me angry. I don't like being angry. Story 87. I'm very critical of my past memories. I remember something I did and relive it repeatedly, criticizing myself. How could you be so stupid? Story 88. I overthink things way too much, even when the answer is right in front of me. Story 89. I do not know when to be quiet, so I often sabotage myself and appear worse in their eyes. Story 90. I am anti-authoritarian, and my instinct when someone behaves this way without, in my opinion, earning it is to fight them, which sometimes causes me problems. Story 91. Mental illness. It's funny but confining, dumb, and painful to realize that I forced myself to do things I did not want to do while I was screaming deep inside that I wanted to take care of myself or get it over with. Story 92. You may not realize that you are lying to yourself about your self-worth. Do not erase yourself. Story 93. I overthink 100%. I can take a perfectly normal situation and create 10 imaginary problems out of it. Story 94. I am commenting on this at almost midnight. Take a wild guess. Story 95. I trust people too much, and they often betray my kindness. Story 96. I overthink everything until I talk myself out of good things. Story 97. Everyone tells me everything, as if I am their best friend, but I cannot open up completely to anyone. I am a therapist who does not have a therapist. Maybe I should look into getting one. Story 98. I am too trusting and generous with people. Sometimes I need to be more protective. Story 99. There is no one on this planet who says worse things to me than I do. Story 100. I stop myself from doing many beneficial things. I think I am ugly, even though I am conventionally pretty with blonde hair and blue eyes, and overall I just hate myself. Story 101. I want to save money, but I struggle because I love going out with friends. Story 102. My brain. Look, we're finally feeling much better. Depression has entered the chat and pulls out a 9mm. Story 103. Low self-esteem and possibly undiagnosed attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We will see if that is the case. Story 104. I get paid well, but I gamble it away almost every time. It is a horrible addiction that seems never-ending and leaves me feeling hopeless. I am just coming off my most recent relapse. Wish me luck. If you are in immediate danger, call local emergency services now. If you can, reach out to a trusted person, a mental health professional, or your local crisis line for support. Story 105. I'm an overthinker. Every morning I pray that God gets in my head before I do. Sometimes your own head is the worst place to be. Trust the overthinker who tells you they love you. They have most assuredly thought of every reason not to. Story 106. When I try to save money, I always buy things I do not need. Story 107. I consider everyone outside my close family to be enemies, at least in real life. Story 108. No matter how much people say they hate me, they cannot do it at the same level as the person looking back at me in the mirror. Story 109. I do not think I have made enemies with anyone other than myself. I have been called many kind things by my peers. Personable, charming, respectful, a great writer, and buff. Maybe I ought to internalize those sorts of affirmations a bit more. Story 110. I sleep very late, do not drink enough water, and eat mostly salty foods. Story 111. I am not my own worst enemy, but I do have personal struggles that have been with me all my life. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.